Welcome back to the Crash the Pond podcast. It is a Monday, June 17th edition of the podcast. And more importantly, Jake, did you just, oh, you just chatted me as I was talking
Yeah,
and then
no.
turned off your mic. So I thought
Sorry.
was going
No,
off.
you're all good. You're
You
all
just
good.
destroyed the intro. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
The show goes on. Welcome to the off-season home. What I wanted to say was that we are a week away from the draft. We are basically a week. I mean, it is next week, next Friday, and it's exciting. We're almost home. We're almost to the end of this ride, almost to the end of this journey of finding out who the Ducks are going to take at that number 3 overall pick. And I am very, very fascinated to see what happens.
It's definitely kind of an up in the air type of draft where we talked about it. We had a bonus episode that we did on the weekend, and I'm just at the point where, I guess I'm a little bit quieter than you. So let me bump up my volume.
No,
Thank
me.
you so much.
No.
That's my fault. I lowered you because you were loud. My bad.
Oh.
But
Jake was just rolling in this opening.
This opening is just throwing me off completely. Luke is not asleep yet, so that's why the door had opened up to ask me a question. So sorry about that, folks. But this draft just really feels like it could go any which way, which makes it really fun. But I'm also just at the point where I've thrown my hands up. I have zero clue who the Ducks are going to take. I feel like at one point I was on the Caden Lindstrom train. I have no clue if they'll take him. And I'm just at the point where I feel like any player that they take outside of maybe a few that are completely off the board, there's some justification for taking them. And I think that I guess is a good and a bad thing if you think about it. So it just leads me to the point where I don't have a hard stance on who number 3 overall should be for the Ducks.
Well, so what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about some other exciting news first that happened today. But after that, I'm going to do my ranking of the top defensemen in this draft. And let's just say that I've done the work so other folks don't have to. Let's just put it that way. But first, let's talk about the little bit of news that happened. I swear to God, we just get so lucky. Every Monday, something happens.
Do you think that the Ducks do this for us? At some point, it has to it can't just be a coincidence that so much news drops on Mondays.
I think it's just the fact that it's Monday.
Probably.
And that's just when news tends to drop because that's
most likely
a big day of the week.
Most likely.
But we got the ultimate teaser today, which is the Ducks tweeting out a picture of what is presumably the eye of the new Ducks logo, the eye of the Mighty Ducks mask, along with a reveal of, well, they're both reveals, but also a reveal of the shade of orange that they will be wearing moving forward. And so for those who haven't seen it, I'll just give a very brief description of it, but you should obviously go look at it. Orange eye. So instead of the eye being black on the Mighty Duck mask, it has kind of this orange menacing look to it. And the eyebrow, which I didn't really realize that there was an eyebrow until recently, but the eyebrow, which used to be silver or gray, is now gold, like a dark gold. And the orange that it's kind of shrouded in, the orange that they're going to be going with, is a darker shade of orange. It looks a lot, actually, I think it is exactly the same shade of orange that the Flyers went to, which is darker. And it looks good. I'm happy with it.
Yep. It's definitely just a tease at this point in time. All we can see is the eye. I've been a fan of this team for my entire life, basically, and I had zero clue that there was an eyebrow. No clue.
Yeah.
Seeing that eyebrow made me go and look at the regular one, and I was like, am I being duped here? Is this the Mandela effect, where you remember something not having it? But no, it's always had that eyebrow there. It's just been so light gray that it's hard to fully see it, I guess.
Yeah.
But definitely one of those situations where it's like, oh, that has always been there. But Aesthetics also has come out and confirmed the fact that the shade of orange matches the Flyers orange currently. So if you're looking for kind of a template for what color the Ducks jerseys will be for this upcoming season, look at the Flyers' latest jerseys, and they will be pretty much that same exact shade of orange. And so I know there was some conversation about these pictures, whether it was red, whether it was orange. People thought it was more. No, it's not red. But the thing is, I think we saw it with the alternate jersey. I feel like on TV, this is the big thing. Depending on what your light settings are at, all these different things for your TV, your phone, your computer, everything like that, orange can look red. just because of how it is. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but in person, it's going to look like that Flyers shade of orange. But, and then in addition to that, though, in addition to the eye, the Ducks kind of teased out the summer flock party that they're doing the weekend after the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And Aesthetics in the video, they showed little clips of the jersey, and Aesthetics actually did on their a screenshot of the 4 different kind of images, which one is just picture of the jersey, one's another picture of the eye, one's another picture of the eye, but does show some of the holes on them and how they do just kind of match how the old holes look. And then there's a 4th picture that I'm not quite sure what it is, but we can see in that picture that the gold is a glittery gold.
Okay.
So
yeah. It's Vegas gold.
It's Vegas gold, sure.
I mean, it looks like the shade of gold that the Golden Knights have on their jersey,
sure.
which is like the really sparkly, really kind of darkish gold.
Yeah.
And it looks good.
And I think the gold is necessary on this jersey. I know there are going to be people out there that don't like the gold being on this jersey, but I think, especially for going with the same color as the Flyers and having that same situation there, I think having gold to differentiate the Ducks jersey from that is important, because if you're just black and orange and white, that's essentially just the Flyers jersey. And so adding the gold accents make it a very unique and very different jersey with the color scheme being different there. But overall, I'm really excited. I think for the most part, there's nothing in this jersey that's sticking out to me as looking bad. We still need to see the whole crest, the whole jersey before having full opinions. But I mean, nothing has really tempered my excitement for these jerseys overall.
Yeah, I think that one thing that's pretty clear is that the Ducks put a lid on Aesthetics, basically revealing all the information, because Aesthetics was prepared to release almost everything last week, or was it just the logo?
Just the
jersey?
Logo. Just the logo.
Yeah, and all of a sudden they just decided not to. Like, that doesn't make sense. And so it's pretty clear that the Ducks put a lid on it, and I think that that's a good thing. Honestly, like, as much as it's fun to know as soon as possible, I think that there's kind of a joy to this iterative process where we see it bit by bit, and then the team gets to unveil it for its fans on its schedule. Like, when you think about the amount of work that goes into designing a jersey, I feel like it's only right that you get to reveal it on your own terms.
I also think a large part of this is probably Fanatics. Like, if you think back to the Adidas, when Adidas took over the NHL contract, they had like a major kind of Adidas unveiling night where they had all the jerseys for all of the teams that were there, and this big unveiling of how they were going to look and the different format and all this different type of stuff. And so I wonder how much of this is maybe next week at some point in time, there's going to be a major Fanatics reveal for all the jerseys throughout the season, and kind of what the template is going to look like, how jerseys are going to look for each team, what minor tweaks there will be for every team. And that's where they want to unveil this jersey and the Kings jersey. And so it could be, in addition to the Ducks just wanting to keep it under wraps, it could be Fanatics also wanting that. Maybe.
I mean, knowing everything that we know about the Ducks, I'm putting the odds of it being about the Ducks much higher.
But there's also the Kings side of it, where Aesthetics was supposed to release the Kings logo also, and they didn't get either of them. So makes me think it might just be a bigger thing in addition to that.
Yeah, I mean, could be true, could be not true. Also,
and then
just don't care.
Just the other piece of information that I want to put out there is, unless news is coming from Aesthetics or the Ducks, like, don't believe it. And I even say that for what we have said about this jersey. Take everything with a grain of salt if it's not coming from Aesthetics or not coming from the Ducks. Like, at the end of the day, you and I have heard some things here and there, but this isn't what we do. Like, we're not out there trying to look at this stuff. Aesthetics is one of the most keyed in person for jerseys around, and
there's
a
reason
the Ducks are the Ducks.
That they put a lid on him and not other people.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's people that are just straight up posting
mock-ups from Reddit
and putting it out as kind of like, oh, look, like this could be it, and it's like, it's just not, and it keeps getting shot down. And I will say that everything we've heard and that we've kind of said as much as we can on this pod has turned out to be true. So that is one thing to keep in mind. But yeah, we're not here to spoil it, or, you know, to let the cat out of the bag or take credit. It's just exciting. It's just an exciting time. And I think that it's just kind of lame when people try to make it about themselves, or, put out stuff that's not actually the case. So that's all. trust the real sources and don't really trust anyone else.
Yep. What do you make, by the way, of Wildwing? There's this video that the Ducks put out. I don't know if it really is anything, but he's like at a painting board type deal and has a palette with all these colors on it, including eggplant and jade.
Oh,
Is
was
there?
yeah, I wouldn't put a whole lot to that because there was a bunch of colors in that
It
little
was white, black, gold, orange, eggplant, jade.
Wow. Maybe there's an alternate.
Maybe there.
I'm not betting on that, by the
That
way.
would be the ultimate. Just like if the Ducks actually pulled that part off with
Fangasm?
with that not getting leaked out of
Yeah.
not only new home and aways but also a third jersey, like that would be wild. But I don't expect it. I don't expect that to be coming. I just think it's going to be home and away. There's no reason. Easel. Shaunalith said easel in the Twitch chat, so thank you. That was the word escaping me that Wildwing is holding.
I'm gonna call BS on you knowing that was the word.
I didn't know that was the.
You're not a known painter.
No, but I knew like what he was holding, but I couldn't think of the word for what it was because
Anyway,
I'm not smart with things like that.
I wouldn't call it. It's just knowledge. It's not smart or not smart. You just didn't know.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah, you know.
Anyway,
gotta find. But regardless, I don't think there's going to be a third jersey this season. They want to sell the new jerseys.
Yeah, I think someone in our Discord made a good point at one time that it's like you can't expect fans to buy like 3 new jerseys in a season. Like you gotta pace it out. I mean, jerseys are incredibly. I mean, they are overpriced, even though like they are nice and all of that. Like you can't expect folks to drop $200 to $300 like 3 times a season. That's just not realistic. And and I also think that as cool as it would be to have an eggplant and jade alternate in the first season of these and kind of have like a set going on, I think it's kind of fun to just let these breathe in year one, let them be the star attraction, and then kind of work in other jerseys. I feel like that's better.
Yep, I would agree.
From a brand building perspective, like these are going to be so new, so cool, and so awesome. And I feel like in year one, you kind of want them to be the star of the show. Like don't muddle the effect.
Yeah. And I think probably, I can't remember where I saw this. Maybe it was on Twitter, maybe it was in Discord, but I think most likely what the Ducks will do, or what I think they should do, that I think would be kind of a fun little tweak here, is if they can, if there's no big Fanatics reveal, like I was saying, that I think there will be, but if they have any say, reveal your home jersey, the new home jersey, the new orange next week prior to the draft. Mm-hmm. So that you can give the new newly drafted players the orange home jersey, and then you wait for that event that's happening on Sunday to hand out the white jerseys and show the white jerseys for the first time in front of fans.
Yeah,
I think that would be kind of a cool way of doing it, but they may not. They may just be, their hand may be forced with Fanatics wanting to release all jerseys.
You're really set on this angle, which is kind of funny to me.
We'll find out. I just think that I think most of the time I just remember Adidas doing that, I guess. And so I feel like Fanatics is going to want to do that same thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
we'll see.
Yep.
It's not a storyline I'm following. Just as a heads up. Although it would be cool to have all the new jerseys come out in the same day.
I think that's what will happen.
Okay. Interesting. I do wonder like how, this is now off topic, but I wonder how much different teams are going to look. Like how different certain teams will look. Just like, for example, the Canadians, right? They changed only a little bit from Adidas or going to Adidas because of the weird color that Adidas has. And I wonder, like, for example, a team like that you know is not going to change how it'll look on just a new template. So,
yeah, and I think for the most part, the template's going to remain the same.
Is it still going to have those weird Adidas shoulders with like the little holes?
I believe so. I'm trying to look for the Utah because Utah put out their jerseys already.
Oh, that's right.
And so you can see the template. There's no actual like jersey. So they put out a picture, Ryan Smith did, where it's behind like a cloud of smoke, the actual jersey. So everything else is just like the mock-up type situation. So it's unclear if the shoulders are going to remain the same, but there is still that same collar on the jersey.
Okay. All right. Well, interesting. I mean, this is honestly the best part about this is that now we have a date, and now we can just kind of pump the brakes on scouring the internet for leaks or whatever day in, day out, and just let it come to us.
Mm-hmm.
So anything else on the jerseys that you want to point out?
Uh, I don't think anything else on the jerseys necessarily. We've heard a few things, seen a few things, but we'll kind of leave that
I
up.
mean, nothing that we've really heard kind of changes or alters, or it's all
No.
just kind of background info.
Yep, confirming different things from the past, basically, that we've said. And I'll just say
Yeah,
this: some of them, we've seen some mock-ups of some things, and they look really cool if they end up
the
being correct.
numbers. Just
Yep.
just say the numbers.
Okay, fine, fine.
Just say the numbers. We're
They
not
look
letting the cat
really,
out of the bag.
they look really, really nice if what we've seen is accurate.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, any other Ducks news from this week? I'm trying to think.
Nothing really
Grant
of
Grant
note.
McCagg just dropping a one sentence thing that had Ducks
Yeah,
fans going crazy.
I mean, the only thing I can think of, not really noteworthy in terms of this week, but something coming up is, I believe, July 1st is going to be the date that RFAs have to be qualified by, because the way it's worded in the CBA is it's whatever comes later, the first Monday after the draft, or June 25th. So odd to me that July 1st is going to be the date, seeing as that's unrestricted free agency. And so you would hope guys would have a heads up ahead of that. But I think that's when QOs are going to be required.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll know by then if how many Ducks RFAs will be staying within the Duck system and how many will be let go.
Do you think Isaac Lundestrom is a Duck next season? I feel like he's the one that people are looking out for the most.
I think he's the most likely because I think he also might have the most trade value.
Yeah, that might be a fair point. I've become kind of agnostic to the Lundestrom situation, where it's kind of like, yeah, they could bring him back. They could also just walk away. And I feel like I wouldn't really feel differently either way.
Yeah. I mean, he's just kind of there at this point in time. I think I could see them qualifying him. I think he's the most likely out of the kind of RFAs in that bin that will be qualified.
Because Jackson Lacombe isn't part of that group, even
No.
though he's an RFA. Like,
correct.
They're not walking away from Jackson Lacombe.
No, they are not. They are not.
And then Brett Leeson is another name that people ask about a lot.
I don't know if they will.
He's just kind of a replacement player. Like, there's just, yeah.
Like, we both like Leeson, but yeah, it's just I think I just go back to Pat Verbeek's comments about the fourth line wanting more production, and there's only so many roster spots as we've kind of gone over. Like, if you bring everyone back, there's no roster spots left to rebuild that fourth line. Like, even if you bring nobody back from the forward group, right? You have 4 open spots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it. So, yeah. And that's assuming that if the Ducks take a forward at 3, they don't want him to be on the Ducks, which is most likely going to be the case. But that's also maybe part of the equation here. And so, I mean, there's also Sam Colangelo potentially needing to be there, because I caught this the other day. Sam Colangelo could be a Group 2 free agent, or is it Group 2? 10.2C.
Oh, why did I think Group 6? There's 2 of them. That's right.
Yeah, or is it 10? I'll need a backtrack on it. I think there's the potential. No, he'll be 10.2C, not Group 6. Sorry, scratch that. That was a thought that I was mixing up the 2 different things in my own head. But regardless, I think Sam Colangelo impressed, and Nikita, like, they're these guys that are gonna need roles on this team, and so I just don't know how much like a Brett Leeson is gonna have a spot over those guys necessarily. Max Jones, same thing. Yeah. Bo Grew, same thing. Like, I just don't see spots on this team long term for those guys.
Yeah, and it's like, are they really guys that Pat Verbeek is going to feel, I guess, committed to bring back? I mean, maybe Leeson because he's the one that brought him in, but like, he was a waiver claim, and then Max Jones is a guy that he didn't draft that hasn't really shown a lot. I mean, I guess he had an okay year.
He's been hurt a lot.
It just feels like there's just a lot conspiring against most of these guys. Like, for even like a Vakanainen, for example, like I think what you'd qualify what the season he had as a good season, but then did he do enough to really become indispensable, or a guy that you just bring back no matter what, that you can't go and upgrade on in free agency, or just have another young guy come up next year? Like, it just feels like all these guys are kind of in the same situation, which probably is really stressful if you're one of these guys right now. Like,
definitely.
I feel bad for them, and I don't envy them, but at the same time, I'm sure that they'll land on their feet in good situations.
Yep.
So should we do this ranking?
Let's go ahead and do the ranking.
Yeah, I guess the other thing I wanted to say was just that Grant McCagg, who covers the draft, who's a prospects writer slash podcaster, he said on a podcast last week that, and again, like, keep in mind that there's always going to be scuttlebutt leading up to the draft, but something that people pointed out is that Grant McCagg was one of the people that was early on Leo Carlsson to Anaheim last season. So we do kind of respect the track record, but he said that the Ducks like Carter Yakimchuk and they like Beckett Seneca. So those are guys that some names to maybe monitor for number 3, to maybe watch their highlights or watch their games.
Yep. Seneca's interesting to me. I'll just
you're the Seneca guy. You've watched more Seneca than I have.
I've watched one video. I would not say I'm the Seneca guy.
You're the expert. That's more than I've watched. So
yeah, I've watched one Elite Prospects video on Seneca, but I mentioned this on the Patreon episode. It seems like the big knock on him so far, from what I've been able to tell, is that he really was a hot riser during the last part of the season. So there's a question around whether it is kind of a small sample size theater when it comes to him rising up and what this is, or if this is potentially just some development that ends up happening throughout his season, because he grew 6 inches over last summer. And so the first part of the season was potentially him figuring out his new body, figuring out everything that comes along with that major of a growth spurt. And then in the second half of the year, potentially he was able to put that together and become a much more well-rounded player and become the player that the team is drafting. And so the question just becomes, is that actually what they're getting, or are they getting something kind of in between? Because if you think that he can become better than even what he showed at the end of the season, then I see kind of where it's coming from.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's just one of those things where there's going to be a lot of chatter in the coming weeks, or I guess it's less than weeks now, in the coming week and a half, and we just have to brace ourselves for it. And just remember to keep an open mind. Like Jake said off the top, there's a lot of players that are going to be good picks and good fits for that 3rd overall spot. And so, like, don't freak out if it's not a name that you haven't heard or whatever, because the odds are that it's still a good pick.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, well, I'm a little nervous. I feel like I'm presenting in class.
Yep.
I'm actually not that nervous, but I'm gonna do my defenseman ranking. And couple things I want to say. I don't want to go too long on like the background and methodology and all that, but I prioritize upside with players, but I also prioritize like how likely is that upside to be met. So obviously, if a guy has shown crazy stuff in junior, but you just are really not confident that it's going to actually translate in the NHL, like, that doesn't mean he's the top pick. And then on the flip side, if a guy's a really high floor, like that does have a little value as well. But generally for me, upside is guys who can move the needle offensively in the NHL, just because offense is the hardest thing to acquire in the NHL. And it's the most expensive thing. And also it doesn't really matter where you get it from. So even if it's a defenseman, it still counts as offense if they're putting up points and helping the breakout and all of that. So I only ranked the top defensemen in this class, or the ones that you'll see the most, like on different mock drafts or whatever. So that includes Zeev Buium, Sam Dickinson, Carter Yakimchuk, Zane Parekh, Artem Levshunov, and Anton Silayev. Should I go reverse order or 1 to 6?
Let's go reverse order for funsies.
And also I should note that between these 6 players, I think I watched a total of like 35 games. So it averages out to roughly 5 games a player. It's probably, I don't know how many hours it comes out to, but spend a decent amount of time on it. So number 6, Anton Silayev. You've heard us talk about him before on the podcast, but he's a 6'7" Russian defenseman who had a really good season in the KHL. He is, it's pretty rare for a young defenseman, teenage defenseman, to play the role that he did in the KHL. And he did that, didn't put up a ton of points, 11 points in 63 games. But really the headline with him is the fact that he can skate so well at his height. It's really kind of unheard of. And so for each of these players, I'm going to do a comparison to a current or former Duck. But I really couldn't think of a comparison for Anton Silayev because he's kind of a unicorn. Like the way that he skates is at his height is just like, think about how Jamie Drysdale used to skate, but at 6'7" and big. Like
Yeah,
that's
because I'm thinking about any big man that was a good skater. I mean,
Clayton Stoner.
Chris Pronger, maybe.
Clayton Stoner.
Legitimately, when we were talking about big men right now, and just think about
I
that,
thought about him.
Stoner came to mind. Brian Allen came to mind, but I'm like, neither of them were good skaters. I mean, Chris Pronger might be the closest
Elite
comparable,
shutdown
but that's a very favorable comparison.
Yeah. So with Salayev, I really like. I think that he's got an excellent, he's got an excellent potential as a shutdown defenseman. But watching him play, the drawback for me is just the fact that his puck moving is just, it's really not something that I'm a fan of. He kind of treats the puck like a grenade. He just doesn't really have those offensive instincts. And it's not to say that he can't get there, that he can't develop them, but it's just, it's a ways away from getting there. And so that's why for me, like if the Ducks drafted him at number 3, I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, this is an awful pick, but he's just in it, like of the defensemen. But
it almost feels like he has the most development to go for all these guys, where the tools are there, but the tools are there in terms of his height, in terms of his reach, in terms of his skating, but everything that surrounds that with hockey IQ, with awareness, with puck moving, that all still needs to get developed and could take a decent amount of time.
And there's people that disagree. Like he can make some okay passes. He has flashed some offense in the KHL, but I don't see it. And I would rather a guy have a lot more in their draft eligible year than what he showed. So even though the shutdown potential is really high, I just have to have him number 6. Number 5. So this is the Zane Parekh. Zane Parekh is the other. He's the other side of the coin for me. And so his Ducks comparable, Lubomir Visnovsky. But with Zane Parekh, I will acknowledge that he's a lot like Anton Salayev, where he's a bit of a unicorn. Like there just are not many players in NHL history that play like him. Mm-hmm. He's just got elite. The headline for me is elite offensive vision, instincts, phenomenal passer, shooter. Like he's basically Lubomir Visnovsky with better skating. Like he's incredibly efficient as a skater. He gets around the ice effortlessly. Like it's actually kind of a pet peeve of mine, and I've seen of other people's, where he's always straight-legged. And yet he's getting around the ice and he's in the right spots, but he's just not striding. And because part of that is because there's elements of his skating that are elite, like the edge work, the Mohawk skating, the 10-2, all of that is just really fascinating. But the forward stride isn't really great. And like his defensive judgment, his sometimes offensive judgment, like his risk management at the offensive blue line isn't great. And he's just very frail. I mean, he's 181 pounds at 6 foot, but honestly, when you watch him on the ice, he looks thinner than that. But he did put up 33 goals and 96 points in the OHL this season as a draft eligible. So you have to respect that. It's pretty insane production. I'm just not sure how well it'll translate to the NHL. Like he could easily be the best defenseman of this class, but like everything has to go right for him to get there. And there's a lot that needs to round out, but he has the best offense of anyone I saw. Okay. Number 4, Sam Dickinson.
Okay.
So my duck comparison for him is a bigger, stronger Cam Fowler. So Sam Dickinson, the headline for me is that he's a flawless skater. Like he has elite mobility. He closes gaps and oncoming attackers effortlessly. He recovers with ease. He's a smart player in all 3 zones. He kind of just, the way he moves reminds me a lot of Cam Fowler. They don't use it in the same way, but he makes the game look easy with the way he moves around the ice, a lot like Cam Fowler. Now, the reason he's not number 1 on my list, or even 1, 2, or 3, is just because there's kind of a limit to his upside. Like, he did show some offense with the London Knights this season, but sometimes the decision-making with the puck, the overall offensive feel, it's not the highest. And for me, like I prioritize that. That's something that I'm really shooting for at a 3rd overall pick. And he just didn't show enough for me to think, that's a guy I got to have at number 3. He still put up 70 points in 68 games. And granted, that was on a really good London Knights team, but just not quite enough. Not quite enough. I kind of liken him to a hockey robot, where he just does everything close to well, something's great, but just nothing that really excites you quite enough. So
Yeah, and I think
if the Ducks drafted him, like I don't think it would be a bad pick, but it would just be a little
yeah,
boring.
and actually looking at Scott Wheeler put out an article today, kind of asking a bunch of questions to different scouts and GMs throughout the league, all anonymous. And one of the things talked about with Dickinson is some of the GMs and scouts didn't know how much of his success was just driven by the London Knight system.
Yeah.
And how much was due to him. And so that's something that they would be wary of and why they wouldn't have him that high in their grouping.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's a good player and he deserves the praise, but he's just, I don't think the praise should be because of the offensive production, because I'm not sure how much of that was really him. Okay. Number 3 on the list, Zeev Buium. So my Duck comparison for him all time, and it's not really all time because it only goes back to like 2014, but Sami Vatanen, but a much, much better skater. So with Zeev,
why'd you have to use that name? Now I want Zeev.
what's wrong with, oh, okay. It's a good thing.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, he's like, the headline for me is just that he's got jaw-dropping moves at the offensive blue line. Like, he loves to dance with the puck, loves to get shots through traffic, loves to move the puck with his feet. He's got some of the best edges that I've seen in this, of the guys that I've looked at. Like, he's just so shifty. He's so mobile. He's also really smart. Like, some of his breakout passes, little slip passes just through traffic perfectly onto the forward's tape. Like, he just nails those. He's also really competitive, in front of the net and along the wall. Like, he battles, he's 6 feet and he's not the biggest guy, but he will battle. And I think that that's something that Pat Verbeek would love. But as far as a Ducks fit and kind of reasons why I'm at number 3, he is, his mobility in terms of like forward and backward is not the best. Like, I don't think that he's necessarily great at keeping up with guys one-on-one. I don't think that he necessarily kind of has that pull away speed. And then he's also a left shot defenseman. So it kind of just makes him a more awkward fit with the Ducks. But overall, like, Zeev Buium, again, if they were to draft him, should also note he's from California. He's, I think, from Laguna Niguel.
Originally from San Diego, but then, moved up to Laguna Niguel.
Yeah, so like, it would be a great story. Also, I don't know if you saw the clip of the NHL. I think it was the NHL that put out, like, what's your go-to cheat meal, that they asked a bunch of guys at the combine. And his go-to cheat meal was In-N-Out, and it was like double.
This is perfect content.
The chili peppers.
Did he?
Extra spread. I don't know why I remember his order. This is kind of embarrassing.
I mean, this is very on brand for us.
Extra spread, extra grilled onions, and then also animal fries. That's his order.
Okay, so, Zeev
Buium's kind of sick. Like, there's
where do I find this? I need to find this.
It's on. It's I think on the NHL Instagram or on YouTube. It's out there.
Okay, I'll look it up.
The next, so maybe this. I'll save it for after I'm done talking about him, and I don't want to just like deface him before I actually start talking about him. But I'll talk about this guy's cheat meal next. But Carter Yakimchuk is my number 2, and Carter Yakimchuk is going to be a lot lower on some lists and higher on other lists. Like, he's a very divisive defense prospect, but my Ducks comp for him is like, think of kind of like Josh Manson, but if Josh Manson could also dangle and snipe. Like, he just has that kind of Josh Manson wild element where sometimes you just have no clue what you're going to get, but pair that with the guy who can stick handle through defenders and rip shots top corner from the point. He's just got that offensive.
I just saw his cheat meal.
Yeah. Don't say it. Don't say it yet. But yeah, that's the headline for me though, with Carter Yakimchuk, is just the elite hands, the heavy shot. And one thing with defensemen that people listening to the podcast for a long time may know is that I hate defensemen who love to shoot a lot. But Carter Yakimchuk does it in a way that actually gets a pass for me, because he always walks into space first. He takes his time to actually make the shot more dangerous. He doesn't just spam shots from the blue line. He tries to get them as dangerous as possible. He has that kind of Austin Matthews pull and release shot where he changes the angle. So it's also a really heavy shot. He's also a good skater. I think that he's really mobile for a 6'3", 200 plus pound defenseman. And he's a right shot. So he's also very physical. And so you put all that together, and I like the player. I also really like the possibility of Pat Verbeek drafting him, because he just feels very much like someone Pat Verbeek would like. Now he does need to iron out a lot of his game, like the details in his defensive game, just the way that he breaks the puck out. Sometimes it just really leaves a lot to be desired. And there's been a lot of questions about his hockey sense. And I could kind of see that. I also am not super concerned because there's times where he really shows great playmaking. There's also concerns about his skating. I don't really share those concerns because I think a lot of his skating issues are more like in his forward stride, which I think is more correctable than some of the other stuff. So he's my number 2.
Let me ask you this. Because I think the 2 players that I view, this is having not really watched either of them, and I'll fully admit that. But just from having read stuff and kind of at least from what you read on Elite Prospects, things like that, it feels like they almost profile similarly. What separates Zane Parekh and Carter Yakimchuk outside of just size?
Well, Carter Yakimchuk to me is better defensively. Like he's just got more. He's got more in the toolkit defensively than Parekh does. Like Parekh, the way Parekh defends is basically like stick on puck only and timing only. Like he doesn't lay the body. He gets caught behind the play quite a bit. He has this really annoying habit Parekh does where he like dives for pucks to like block lanes, and sometimes it works and it looks great, and other times it looks terrible. And so I just don't know how that'll translate to the NHL. Like if you're not at all physical and a lot of your defense is predicated on like stick lifts and timing and stuff like that, like it's going to be tougher. Whereas Carter Yakimchuk is 6'3", he's got the size, he's got the mobility, and he's already imposing himself physically. I just think that he has a higher floor than Zane Parekh is what I would say.
Do you have any pause on Carter Yakimchuk being almost the prior draft? Just with size. So September 29th birthday.
Oh, like was it a late birthday?
He's extremely old for this draft.
Yeah, he's an old 18-year-old.
He'll be 19 by the time the season starts.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing I want to remind about this ranking is part of what I'm factoring in is like fit on the Ducks. And so is he necessarily the second best of all these guys? Maybe not, but I think that he fits the Ducks really well as a right-hand shot. I think he's someone that they would look at. I also just think that his upside, like even though he is older, I think that he still has a lot of upside. Like I said, the details of his game stand to really benefit, and the level of skill that he has and the level of offense that he can bring, he has that kind of like home run ability. That really excites me. Now, yeah, it could not work out, but I think people hear the name Carter Yakimchuk and they think, oh, like he's not that good, or oh, it's not Levshunov, Parekh, Buyam must be bad because it's the only names they've seen. But like, just go watch his highlights. Like he's a highlight reel player, and maybe I'm falling too much in love with those highlights, but he does some stuff that other defensemen just can't do.
Okay,
that's my spiel.
Yep.
And again, if you told me like, oh, I prefer Parekh to Yakimchuk, I'm not gonna fight you tooth and nail on it. I'll tell you why I have one over the other, but it's not like it's not a war crime either way. Yeah. And then number 1, I mean, this is a guy who, I should also mention his cheat meal is Burger King for Carter Yakimchuk.
Yeah. I saw that and was just like, what? No.
Yeah.
Get a better cheat meal. Treat yourself.
And also, like, one thing that I want to say for third overall is that all of these guys that you're going to pick have risk to them. There is no sure thing at number 3. Even a player, for example, that I love, like Caden Lindstrom, there are question marks in his game. There are question marks in his profile. And so when people are upset, like, oh, well, I don't want to hear that it might not work out. It's like, well, I have bad news for you. That's kind of how the draft works unless you're picking number 1.
Yeah. Every single player in the outside of Macklin Celebrini has question marks around them.
Yeah, like I'm not here to sell you on a player and like just say everything that I think you want to hear so that you buy into them. I'm here to present like a fair case why I like them, and then you can decide for yourself which players you like better. Number 1, though, this one is a pretty easy one, but I don't think he will be there at number 3, and that is Artem Levshunov. He was a right shot defenseman at Michigan State University this season. Fantastic season, fantastic production. He's 2 years removed from playing junior hockey in Belarus, which is not a good league, and then he played in the USHL last season. My Ducks comparison for him, and this is a best case scenario, keep in mind with all of these, But my Ducks comparison is Hampus Lindholm with more playmaking, more offense. Like I think that Levshunov, he's just so calm with the puck. He's such a smooth skater. He reads the ice so well. He has just a great feel for when to join the rush, how to set guys up in transition, how to set guys up in the offensive zone. He's also physical when he wants to be. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Hampus Lindholm, where he was just like a known quantity night in and night out. Like he might not be the most exciting pick. Honestly, I think all 5 players that I named before him are more exciting and have more highlight reel potential. But Levshunov is just kind of that happy medium where he has the upside. I think there's a lot of untapped potential in his game, but there's also like a much safer floor. And there are questions about his defensive kind of decision making, engagement, just like his overall judgment sometimes isn't the best. But when he turns it on, when he decides to kind of be physical, like he can be a menace out there. And so I just love the way he plays the game, and I think that he's my number 1. And I don't think the Ducks will draft him because I think he'll be gone at number 3. I think the Hawks are going to take him at 2, but he would be just a seamless fit on the Ducks. Now, is he the person that would take at 3 if he was there? Probably not, because we haven't talked about the forwards today, and we will at some point, but he'd be a good pick. This is a fun group.
Yep. So to go over it one more time, you had Levshunov 1, Yakemchuk.
Oh, sorry, never mind. Go ahead.
Yakemchuk 2, Yakemchuk 2. 3 was Boyum. 4 was Dickinson. 5 was Perek, and then 6 was Salayev.
Yep. And
let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
How do I best phrase this? Do you think there's anyone there that if the Ducks took them at 3, you would be scratching your head?
Salayev.
Okay.
I'm not a big believer.
But the other 5, I guess.
I think I would be more scratching my head at Perek, honestly.
Okay.
Just because if you watch Perek, like he's just, we all have our idea in our head of what a Pat Verbeek player is, and Perek is like all of the opposites of that.
So
like not engaged physically, not really great defensively, all of that.
So it's not necessarily due to the player that he is or that he could become, but more so just because of what Pat Verbeek kind of has wanted and what Perek brings to the table.
Yeah, like I would just be really surprised if they pick Perek at 3. I would be way more surprised. He would be the biggest surprise of any of these guys.
Okay.
I mean, if they picked him, I would respect the hell out of it because it's one hell of a home run swing. But
that was, I guess, what I was trying to get out of you right there was for people out there saying, like, if you would scratch your head at it, to confirm that it was not because it's not a home run swing, not because it's not a pick that you would like. It's because it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense with what Pat Verbeek has done.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pat Verbeek prioritizes hockey sense. We know that from the Carlson pick. And Perek has that in droves when he has the puck on his stick. Like he is the best offensive upside of any of these players we just talked about. But it's the rest that kind of like that's where the questions are with him. And so I would be scratching my head. And honestly, like it's also not a pick that I would love just because the floor is really uncertain with him. The floor could be potentially non-existent.
Yeah. Okay.
And like, for example, Elite Prospects has him at 5. And that's like one of the highest ratings I've seen for him. A lot of people have him lower.
And they have Yakemchuk at like
17.
17?
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, how wrong am I? But then I've seen him higher other places. And like, again, keep in mind that this list is partially like what I think will happen / what would fit with the Ducks. And that's why like the right-hand shots get the bump, right? Like maybe if it was purely on just like what I think, I might have Buyam above Yakemchuk. Like I don't necessarily think Yakemchuk is a lock to be a better NHLer than Buyam. But I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. All right. So let's jump into questions unless you've got anything else.
Nope. I talked too much there.
All right, here we go. We're going to jump into our Patreon Discord. Go to patreon.com/crashbond where if you subscribe at any tier, you get access to our Discord and you get your questions prioritized, and you just get a wonderful community. So Medics asked us, was the Ducks sweeping of the defending Stanley Cup champions and second-seeded Red Wings in the 2003 playoffs one of the best individual rounds by a team in history, possibly the most shocking upset? Not by a team. Wasn't what was it? The Kings upsetting the Oilers. I know people aren't gonna love that it's the
Was it the
Kings.
Oilers?
Yeah, wasn't it them upsetting the Oilers and like the miracle on Manchester or whatever it was?
Oh,
Because
you're going way back. Okay, I thought they were
no,
talking
no,
about the
no.
Kings in like 2012.
No, because I don't think that was a huge upset if you looked at the underlying metrics. The thing
Yeah.
with those going way back when is the teams were just so much more lopsided, I guess. And
Mhm.
so I think the fact that you had the Kings with no real stars on them or beating the Oilers from that period, I think that was shocking. I think that the Ducks sweeping the Red Wings is up there for sure. Maybe I mean the Florida Panthers making the Cup finals would be up there. Blue Jackets versus Tampa. I also
I
think
mean,
that the Ducks versus San Jose is
the
up
Habs
there.
in 2010, Capitals, they were the
Yeah,
eighth seed.
yeah,
Yarrow Halak just going
yeah.
crazy.
I think it would be hard to say kind of what the biggest upset or most shocking upset. Maybe it was Columbus versus Tampa. Like
That was a big one.
that was wild.
That was a big one. Yeah.
Just because of how like even though like teams aren't as lopsided now, like Tampa was so good then.
Yeah.
But let's see. Heyo Deflo said, "How long in the making do you think the Ducks rebrand has been building?"
I think a couple of years.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Stan said, "Hard out on the orange." Nope. I'm all aboard the orange wagon.
I am reserving the right to change my mind,
Oh, I agree.
especially if they go all orange. If we're talking if what he's referring to is the all orange gear,
Oh,
then
good point.
yeah. But like the actual orange itself, I'm fine with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, and that's it for there. We've got a couple of questions from Twitter, so I'll hit those. Then we'll get to Twitch and
I
YouTube.
have a bunch, by the way, on the quote tweet of your.
I saw that. I
Okay.
will get there. I saw
Okay.
that
Okay.
though. Trevor Zebra said, "Hey Jake, hope you guys are doing well. Two questions for the night for you tonight, if you can get to them. I know you guys aren't big fans of this, but with Line A being available to trade and his value being so low, do you think that's a player that Verbeek would at least ask about? He's got the size, handedness, scoring, and the Ducks have all the young talent to perfectly support his game."
Wait, would we do it or is Verbeek interested?
Verbeek.
No, I don't think so. I think
Agreed.
I think that Patrick Laine is the furthest thing from a Pat Verbeek player. I don't think he's going to do it.
And two, what do you think Lindstrom's offensive ceiling could be? I'm between him and Salayev at number 3.
His ceiling.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a Ducks comparison now.
Yeah.
Faster Ryan Getzlaff. No, I mean just like elite first line center with two-way ability and like power forward center like that. That's the upside.
Yeah. And then we'll get to the rest of the questions. Brian S. Lynn said, "What would a legitimate Patrick Laine trade look like?" If the Ducks do get him, it would be at retention for next to nothing. Like that's the only way it would make sense.
It would be like 2 low draft picks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darkwing said, "Any thoughts on Anaheim scouting in relation specifically to forwards? As a longtime fan, I have immense faith in our scouting staff to find goalies and defensemen, even find late round D and goalie gems, but not so much with forwards. Am I missing something?" I mean, they've drafted and like developed some decent forwards lately. I mean, Troy Terry's
so is it about late round picks or like first
just
round picks?
specifically to forwards.
Well,
And so they found, Leo Carlson, Trevor Zegras, like Troy Terry. I think that
Mason McTavish.
I think historically, you look at the Ducks and you look at what they've done, especially in the mid 2010s, with drafting and developing defensemen, and how successful they were doing that, but not at doing it with forwards. And I think that you have a case up until the 2019 draft. I think starting in the 2019 draft, they started finding more and more forwards. Part of that is just having higher picks. You're gonna have a more valuable pick to get a better player.
I mean, 2019 hasn't aged very well though. For being,
I just meant with Zegras though.
Okay, because Braden Tracy is not not quite knocking down any doors.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that they just get so much love, and rightfully so, for the defenseman drafting, but they've drafted some good forwards, especially with their top picks. I think that where people kind of get frustrated is those like middle to late round forwards. But here's the thing though, like the success rate on those is really low regardless.
Well,
It's really hard to find a gem in the 5th to 6th round.
and not only that, I think there's probably frustration about Max Jones, about like a Max Comtois, about a Sam Steele. But with late first, early second round picks, they're not necessarily going to become superstars. And those guys have become NHLers. Like Sam Steele was on the Dallas Stars in a third, like lower line role, but playing those minutes for that team that was one of the best teams in the NHL this past season. And so like Max Comtois played on, well, no, he was an AHLer this year, but still like
he played NHL games.
He played NHL games, which is more than some other teams can say. And so it's just kind of how the draft is.
Yeah.
All right. So now I'll get to the questions. T. Saru said, thoughts on the reports of Yakemchuk's poor testing and interviews on the Athletic Hockey Pod. Also, overall thoughts on Seneca's game.
Yeah, I mean, the interview thing, it's like some people are just not good at interviews. Like job interviews. Like I'm sure people have interviewed for a job where they were very qualified and they didn't get the job. Maybe they had a terrible interview. Doesn't mean that they were not good at the job. I think that if you want to point to concerns with Yakemchuk in the combine, like, the CHL combine or the CHL, whatever it was with the skating, the on ice testing, like, that's a concern. And I think that that's fair, but also watching him play, like, I don't think that really materializes quite as much. But yeah, the interview thing, it's like, we just need to not care about that, or at least not put that much stock into it.
Stork said, how many seasons before Verbeek becomes on the hot seat? What does success look like in this season? And will another top 5 pick be a failure? I think if the Ducks are in this position next season, the seat will start getting warmer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if the Ducks don't make the playoffs and they're not even close and they're in the same position, Pat Verbeek should be on a warm seat, not a hot seat, but like something has gone wrong. Like he's not doing his job if that's the case. I think that his seat doesn't really get hot though until 2 years from now, because I think this year there's still a little bit of okay, you're on the climb, but 2 years from now you should start being in it. You should start being definitively in the race.
Yeah, and I'll say another top 5 pick would be a failure next season.
Yeah.
Zegras Defender said, how fun would Seneca be in the top 6? And I feel like this is just for you, that he really loves Seneca's tape job.
I haven't watched anything of Seneca, so
but the fact that it's a tape
you're the
job,
expert.
The fact that it's about the tape.
Here, let me look it up. Let me look it up while you're talking.
He would be really, really fun in the top 6. While you're doing that, Clapbomb says, is Yakemchuk a reach at 3? Seems like a great fit for the Ducks. I mean, you kind of answered that with what you said earlier, that not a reach for the Ducks.
I mean, folks really need to get the word reach out of their head for this 3rd overall pick. Like, unless they pick someone that's really outside of that big kind of second tier after, almost said after Demidov, after Celebrini, that would be a reach. Like if they're picking Michael Brandsegg-Nygaard at 3, yes, that is a reach. And I'm sorry to the Nygaard fans, but that would be a reach. But outside of that, anyone within that top like 8 or whatever that we've been talking about, top 12, like it's arguable. You can make a point for it. And I don't think people that have those takes of quote unquote reach, and I'm not saying the person asking the question did, they probably just want to understand better, but the people who like use the word reach to make an argument, like they just haven't watched the players or haven't done the homework. So don't worry about that.
Twinkie Boy said, each of your gut feel for who the next Ducks captain will be in one dark horse pick.
Oh,
my gut feels Troy Terry.
My gut feel is Leo Carlson.
Ooh, what's your dark horse? Do we have the same dark horse?
Let's just say it on the count of 3.
1,
2,
3. Trevor Zegras.
Troy Terry. That didn't work. That didn't work. That was a failure.
Yeah.
Trevor Zegras is not even a dark horse. He's like a
he is still in the stable.
Yeah, he's just like a 1 in a million.
For sure. Hey, he has for a dark horse.
He's Seabiscuit.
All right, dark horse would be like Radko Gudas.
Yeah, like or Killorn or some boring veteran pick like that. Yeah. Ryan
Louis
Strome. Oh, Ryan Strome. There we go. That's
Luis Alberto Johansson said, "What do you guys think of Greg Cronin's system last season? Should he continue coaching the same coaching system heading into next season, or change it because the Ducks usually lose dump and chase puck battles, kind of the same Dallas Eakins system that didn't work at all?" I mean, he wasn't really coaching a dump and chase system necessarily all the time. It depended on, like, the thing was, if you lost possession, it was about hunting pucks. And you look at the success of, like, the Florida Panthers, right?
Yeah.
They're a prime example of what a successful team that plays that system that Greg Cronin wants can be like. And so I don't think that he should change his system. I think he just needs to get more time with his players all healthy. Like, that may help out a bunch.
Yeah, I also just think, like, the roster still wasn't that great. And so it's kind of hard to judge it fully. But I do think my issue with the Greg Cronin system isn't so much the system itself, as much as, like, does this actually fit the personnel? Mm-hmm. And you watch, like, the Ducks players like Terry, Zegras, Carlson, McTavish even, and then just name anyone from the bottom six. Like, are these guys really, like, you know, going to go hunt pucks and, like, forecheck really aggressively? Like, I feel like this might not be the system for the team, but we'll see. Open mind for next season.
All right, Mike Prevost, we have a lot of Twitter questions, so let's start blitzing through these. This one should be quick. It's more so reading his, but fill in the blanks. This is his ideal 2024 lines. Killorn, Carlson, blank. Zegras, McTavish, Terry. Gauthier, Strome, Vetrano. Nestorenko, Lundestrom, Regenda, and then McGinn and Johnson as the extra forwards. Minchikov, blank. Zellweger, Gudas. Fowler, Leno. Lacombe as the extra. Gibson, Dostal. So I guess, who do the Ducks sign, or who do they bring in to be the top line right wing with Killorn and Carlson?
I feel like I said someone last pod that I'm forgetting, at least for the defenseman.
Defenseman, I mean, do you think it's
no longer Jalen Chatfield.
It's no longer Jalen Chatfield, who was the guy that I wanted for that position. I'll go Matt Roy.
Sure. Brandon Montour.
And then for the forward, I mean,
I think Gauthier is on that top line, by the way.
No, Gauthier's with Strome. Well, this is his ideal. Gauthier, Strome, Vetrano. I'll go with Marty Necas.
Tried and true. Tried and true answer.
Do they just go for it and sign Sam Reinhart?
Or they draft Beckett Seneca and he continues his crazy upward trajectory and makes the NHL?
Yeah. So there we go. Clark said, "Hi, have you heard anything about the hole placement on the Ducks masks being the same or different? Aesthetics confirmed it's the same amount. Just curious if they are in the same location." If Aesthetics said that, then trust them on this.
Yeah.
Like, I saw that from them. I would assume they're the same position. From the images we got, it looks like that also. And then he also said, "Who do you think gets announced as the captain?" So we already said it. I think Trey Terry. Leo. You think Leo Carlson. And on that same thing, Darius Otero said, what are the odds the Ducks jersey reveal is also a captaincy reveal?
I feel like it would make sense, but it makes too much sense for the Ducks to do it. So,
yeah,
I'm going to go no. I feel like Paverbeek will get in the way
I think they're going to do it during training camp. Like, I think the players are going to have a say in it. I think it's going to happen during camp. I don't think they're going to announce the captain over summer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it for Twitter. So now we're going to come to Twitch and YouTube. So if you're in the Twitch and YouTube chat, please throw your questions in. Add question at the front of it. If you've posted it earlier, please repost it for me just for ease, so I don't have to back scroll. But if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast service, you can find us at twitch.tv/crashthepond, where if you want to help us out, you can support us with Amazon. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime gaming sub each and every month, and it does help out more than you can imagine. You can be just like our good friend Lou, who subscribed for his 69th month. Nice. And that guy Bobski, good friend Bobski, who subscribed for his 29th month and said, it's been a hot minute, haven't logged into Twitch for a hot minute. Or it's been more, but haven't logged into Twitch for a hot minute. So thank you both so much for that. Or you can find us at youtube.com/crashspawn, where completely free to you, subscribe to our channel. Like the videos. If you're watching this right now, let's get a little bit of a like spike. Hit that like button if you like what you're watching. We have a decent amount of people watching us, so please like the video if you're watching this, or if you're listening on your favorite podcast services, please, I know every one of you have a YouTube account. Everyone watches YouTube. Everyone does. including my son with watching train videos, as Felix ends up seeing them on the Crash the Pond algorithm now.
Oh, that's so funny.
As a result of that.
That is so funny.
And then, so go to our Crash the Pond channel, like, subscribe to the videos, everything along those lines. Please throw the questions in. I'm going to start with Alex Olvera. If you have them before that, please throw them after that. This is on YouTube, Twitch. I see one there that I'll get to also, or I see a couple there that I'll get to. Alex Olvera said, question, with all the conjecture about what a Verbeek type player is, what are all the traits that you think makes up what are all the traits you think makes up what you think a Verbeek type player is?
Height.
I think hockey IQ. I think hockey IQ, he wants guys that see the game well, that read the game well. You look at a Pavel Minchikov, you look at how he plays. You look at Leo Carlson and how he plays. You look at everything around those two players for high-end players to take early in the draft, and that is kind of what I see and what I think he values the most. I think size plays a part in there. I think maybe some physicality, but I think an ability to think the game at a high level and see the game at that high level is what he values the most.
So he's going to draft Berkeley Catton at 3? That's what you're saying?
I said size also.
Yeah, no, I think competitiveness, like, honestly, just listen to him talk. Like, listen to the interview he did with the pancake breakfast, or what was it this year?
I don't remember.
The toaster strudel buffet, something. But he had the comments to the season ticket holders, and he kind of went into depth about what he likes and what he's trying to build, and like competitiveness and like a drive to improve, strength, like all of that was really high on his list. And that's why I think Olin Zellweger, despite being short king, is kind of grading out well for him, because he's a gym rat. And I think he really likes that about him. I think the hockey sense thing, like, I know that they say that a lot, but I just don't think that's, okay. I think it's more, it's like a tiebreaker more than anything. I think that was the tiebreaker between him and Fantilli, personally.
Okay.
So
Austin Price 529 said, do you guys believe Dostal can be a number one goalie for the Ducks moving forward as they work their way back into contention?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. And then he also said, is Martin Madden still in charge of scouting? Our draft picks ultimately Pat's call?
I don't know. I should start with that. But I think Martin Madden is an assistant GM. Like, he's not even just the director of scouting like he used to be. Like, he has a lot of pull in the organization. He's valued. I do think, though, that in most organizations you hear about, the GM does kind of have that final say, but they do respect and trust the work that all their scouts are doing. So,
yep. I've scrolled up on YouTube also now. So Rooch said, did the 0-3 Ducks sweeping the Red Wings make them a wagon? Eventually, by the time they made the Cup final, you could consider them a wagon because they were one of the two remaining teams in the league that season.
Are we still doing the wagon thing?
I guess so. The Oilers are a wagon. Don't let the playoffs so far let you forget that. Even if they lose.
You mean the finals so far?
What did I say?
You said the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But even if they lose in the finals, they are a fantastic team, as are the Panthers. And that is all. Let's see. Tristan Miss says, so to reiterate, you think Lundstrom and Lacombe are the only RFAs being qualified?
No, I think there may be. Well, I think Lacombe is the only one that's for sure being qualified. I think the rest, even Lundstrom, like, maybe it's more likely, but it's all up in the air. Yeah. But Lacombe is the only one where it's like, yes, they are absolutely qualifying him. If they didn't qualify him, I would lose my mind.
And then also, our good friend Kempafu said, stop by for a quick sub. We'll listen later and subscribe for his 48th month. So thank you so much for that. Let's see. Mighty Maniac said, thoughts on the coach getting national eyes from a TSN post. I'll say this.
Bar down is like the lowest rung of content creation.
I'll say hockey. This. If you're just going to take a Reddit mock-up that is then shot down by Aesthetics, who has seen the logo on the jersey and said that is not the logo, and then you get notoriety from that, that's not a great look.
Yeah, if you run with that and like try to present it as that's possibly the look when it's been confirmed that it's not, and then it's
that's
just
it.
Don't put any stock into any of that for multiple reasons.
Yep. Jeff said, question, are y'all going to the summer party thing after the draft? No, I will not be there. I have a family event that day, so I will not be there.
There's a party?
There is a party.
Maybe I'll be there.
Are you going to come down for
I will
it?
absolutely not be there.
Okay.
No chance.
Andrew Fisher said, did any news drop today that inspired the shirt choices? No. I just threw on my USC shirt, repping my alma mater, and then you're wearing a 49er shirt just because.
Just to trigger folks.
Yeah. What is this? Chemica04 said, thoughts on Anaheim's ability to scout forwards. I think they're amazing at drafting D and goalies, but not quite as amazing at picking forwards. We kind of talked about this already, but I think that's a bit...
well, they also just walked away from a couple of forwards they just drafted, so...
That's fair.
I mean, I would say these last two classes will be somewhat telling because they drafted a bunch of forwards in the middle rounds, and I think that will be a nice tell of how things are going. But I agree with you. I think it's a little overhated, but they just straight up said eject button to Ben King and Connor Vidston. Just 2 years after drafting them, which is kind of crazy.
Hammock N asked, what exactly is a wagon? A team that is just going and going and going. A team that's playing well.
Really good.
That is a very, very good team. Jeff said, question, do you all like the channel Duck My Life? I think they do really good work. I think that the coverage that they provide of things like training camp and things like that not really anyone else does on YouTube.
The team doesn't cover.
That the team doesn't cover. It's a very, very great way to be able to interact and watch the team with them. So they do great work with that. Brian Rochford said, question, with so many players in the Duck system already, would it not be more prudent to trade a prospect plus picks? How many players can an NHL team have signed to an ELC? Because the Ducks seem to have a lot.
We have 50 contracts, right?
You have 50 contracts, and then in addition to that, your reserve list, which includes guys that are signed to contracts and guys that are just in your system, not necessarily signed, you can have 90 guys. And so the Ducks currently have 36 guys to contracts, or 36 of their 50 contracts taken, but that is only with 16 of 23 roster spots filled, so that will start filling up, but they still have 45 spots on their reserve list. So I do think kind of the point is valid of the Duck system has so many players in it and they are so deep. I think if you can find a way to trade one of them to get a valuable asset back, where you're trading multiple picks and prospects to get a valuable asset back, it would be beneficial, but they're not running up on that limit yet.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Did the Ducks ever have Tinkerbell on the scoreboard?
I think so.
Wait, really?
I think so, in like the early seasons.
So someone responded to my tweet about the new logo saying they should bring Tinkerbell back to the scoreboard while they're at it. And I thought that was just like hateful trolling or something, which it probably is anyway, but I didn't know that was an actual thing. That's kind of great.
I think so. They were owned by Disney.
What's wrong with Tinkerbell?
Nothing.
Get over yourselves.
Tinkerbell.
You're not that tough.
Let's see. I'm doing Tinkerbell Mighty Ducks. I'm pretty positive. Yeah. Tussel's saying that was real. Ray Gonzalez is saying that was real.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Ray Gonzalez also said, is the hype on the new jersey colors just a big nothing burger? The color, like the change in the color, yes, because it's just like a different shade of orange.
I think that, well, I wouldn't say the hype, but the hate is overstated or whatever. Like, just because it's the same as the Flyers, maybe they'll do it better than the Flyers.
Well, I also think it's a whole different scheme. The gold being there makes it significantly different.
Yeah, I just think that for what I think they're going to do with all the orange, I think that darker orange is going to be more palatable.
Yes, I'm very excited.
I'll leave it at that.
I'm very excited to see these jerseys. The full jerseys with everything on it.
Yep. The full spread.
Alex Olvera said, question, I'll be at the Sphere for the start. What should I tell Verbeek?
Draft
Lindstrom.
I'm saying that now, but up next on my list to watch are Iginla, Seneca, and who's the other forward that I can't think of? There's another forward, but maybe my mind will change. But right now it's draft Lindstrom.
Ryan said, what will be the biggest improvements that we will see with eventual new assistant coaches? A new power play system.
Yeah,
that's
we still don't know who that's going to be.
What would you think? What wasn't the San Jose Sharks power play coach let go?
Yes.
And I haven't looked into this too much outside of just listening to 32 Thoughts, where they've mentioned that the Sharks power play was actually not bad last season for the quality of talent that they had. I haven't done a dive into their actual
They
numbers.
had some decent offensive players.
So maybe that's someone they look at. I haven't really dove into that really at all, though, in terms of who they could take. But
it's just one of those things where like I don't care until I actually see it.
Yeah.
Like until I actually see the product on the ice. Because when they brought back Newell Brown, it was like, oh, well, he's smart. He's got some ideas. And it's like, well, see how that turned out.
We are both tagged by Jeff Shibley on Twitter saying Tinkerbell was a real thing.
Hey, nothing wrong with Tinkerbell.
No, but just the fact that we were both tagged on Twitter I think it has a video of it, or it has an image of Tinkerbell.
If Tinkerbell makes you angry, like, you have bigger problems.
For sure. It's the whole thing about like people getting mad about there being a Disney team. Who cares? It's fun.
It's just like, I don't know what people want. What do
Disney's
people
great.
want? What do people want? Can you tell me what people want? Because I can never tell.
Everyone loves Disney. Just go with that.
Well, you're paid to say that.
Ivan Demoduck said, "Are the Ducks building a roster?" I'm now going back to
Wait, where's this
Discord.
tag? I want to see this tag.
It's on Twitter.
Oh, that's not Tinkerbell. Or that's not the scoreboard though.
Oh, it was on the broadcast.
Oh, okay. Someone said it was on the scoreboard. Maybe they meant the broadcast.
Maybe. Ivan Demoduck said, "Are the Ducks building a roster to match the system that the Panthers play?" Yeah, there are two questions. So, do you think the Ducks are building a roster to match the system that the Panthers play?
I think Pat Verbeek probably loves the way they play,
Yeah.
and I think Greg Cronin probably does too.
Yep. And then also said, since the top 10 or so draft prospects are on the same level, if the Ducks acquire the Devils' number 10 pick, do they consider trading their number 3 overall pick for a young established player?
Wait, hold on. You're going to have to do that again.
If the Ducks trade for the number 10 from the Devils, do they trade number 3?
Then? No. Why would you do that?
Yeah, agreed.
No.
Christian Campos in YouTube said, if Chicago takes Demidov, who are you taking at 3? Probably Levshinov.
Really? You're taking
him or Lindstrom.
You're taking Levshinov before Lindstrom?
Him or Lindstrom. Sorry.
Oh, Berkeley Catton is the other guy I was trying to think of. I am going to say still Caden Lindstrom. There are questions, but the fit plus upside ratio is just, I love it. I love what he can bring to this team. So
yeah, I think my brain was solely on defensemen just because of us talking about that. So
Tisha Ginla at 3.
Let's see. All right, let's just end with some shit show questions. Sorry, Twitch and YouTube and Discord. We're gonna be done with questions from you and just hit shit show questions and get out of here.
Also, someone brought up Guy Boucher in the chat.
Yeah.
Can we just move past the Guy Boucher is good notion? Can we do so?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to clear up something. Someone's in our chat saying that Lindstrom has a herniated disc. So this is the problem with aggregation in draft season, is that one quote comes out, people see that, they don't listen to the content or read the content surrounding it. But that was the injury he suffered earlier in the season in a workout. Caden Lindstrom, he had a herniated disc in his back, but he has since recovered. Like, he is back to working out, back to skating. And in that same podcast where that quote came from, they said that at the combine, the confidence in his injury and his health was at an all-time high, and that there's great optimism around him. So that didn't make the aggregated quote. Everyone just sees herniated disc and panics, but that's the context that people should know about.
All right, so here's the shit show questions. Max Jones Truther said, outside of hockey, which of your favorite teams would mean the most to you if they won a championship? Ooh. I mean, for me, the 3 teams outside of the Ducks, outside of hockey, would be Tottenham, USC football, and the Angels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to say probably the Angels, but probably honestly it's USC football. I think the fact of, like, especially for me, it's like having my college roommates, my college friends that I still talk to, and when games are on, we'll text. It's like having that. I think that probably USC football would be the one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if the Warriors won another one in the Curry era, that would just, I don't see it happening. So it's all about expectations. Anything that defies your expectations would mean the most. And that's what would mean the most for me.
Yeah. Although Tottenham winning something massive would be insane also.
If they won the Olympics.
Lewis X209 said, if you're listening, whoa.
Why is he doing this? Why is he
Sing
singing
it
a question?
back. Okay.
Why is he singing a question?
I'll skip the rest of it. It's Jimmy Eat World though. If the Ducks and Hawks were to swap picks, what would that trade look like? Just pretend we are living in a bizarro world.
My God, stop it! No more. We're kicking Lou out of the Discord. Just kidding.
Sorry, Lou.
Lou is like the least deserving kicked out person. There's at least least 7 people that I would kick out before Lou.
Okay,
you might be on the list.
I might be.
You might be
also, love you, Lou. Just wanted to say that.
Yep.
Hey Yo Deflo said, who would win in an arm wrestling contest, Jake or Felix?
So I have a torn bicep tendon in my right arm.
So me.
So you would win. But if it's left arm, I don't know.
Left arm would be tough.
How much are you going to cheat?
We'll see.
How willing are you
to bicep?
How badly do you want to win?
Oh, I want to win.
Yeah.
Rouge said to expand on this, if a Jack Kopaka-sized Felix went up against a Jack Kopaka-sized... Okay. Oh, wait. This is just a straight wrestling match. Me.
Wait. Where's the question?
Who would win between us in a wrestling match?
Where's that question? I don't see it.
It's right underneath. Hey, OD Flows. We're in shit show.
He's just said arm wrestling.
But Root said regular wrestling.
Oh, okay.
Me.
Sure. We'll go with that.
Caden number 2 fan Rich said, when will the silencing of voices stop? We've never silenced you, Wrench. Never, ever, ever. We've read your questions, read everything aloud.
We want to silence you, and we haven't. So think about that.
Yeah, we've read
think about that.
We've said your name here.
We would rather silence you and many others, and yet we haven't. So we are good. We are good Samaritans.
Noted corner store owner saying, to me, how can we allow Felix to delete channels? He must be stopped. What do you have to say for yourself?
When did I delete a Discord channel? When did that happen?
Okay.
Where's your proof?
OG Leo Carlson Truther about the arm wrestling said, what about him, Jake, or Felix? Oh, Connor's beating both of us.
Again, I have a torn bicep.
Connor's beating both of us.
Like, you're beating a handicap, basically.
Connor's for sure beating me.
Is that going to get me canceled? I don't know.
Connor's for sure beating me.
Yeah, I mean, Connor posted a video of like a workout, and I was like, yeah.
Connor lifts like 5 days a week, and I'm lucky if I get 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Tip of the cap.
Tip of the cap. I wish I could. So I think that's going to do it, though.
You just tipped your cap.
I didn't even
I don't know if you did that on purpose.
I didn't do that on purpose.
Oh, now Connor's really trying to get me canceled.
I didn't even mean to do that.
I will not cancel myself. That was really funny. I thought you did that on purpose.
I did not. That was a complete and total accident. So
you're just nervously adjusting your cap.
I did it because my head was itchy.
Okay. Well, hope it's not itchy anymore.
It's a little bit.
Also, is there still like a 40% sale going on every day at the team store?
I don't know.
Team store website?
No clue.
Another breadcrumb trail. Although now the cat's out of the bag, so.
Oh, yeah. The jersey sale?
Yeah.
What? I wonder why you're doing a 40% off on jerseys.
Everything has been on clearance.
Why are you trying to get rid of last year's home and away jerseys?
Yeah.
I wonder, like the 30th makes sense. One-off season jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Standard home and away. Granted, Adidas versus Fanatics, but still.
Yeah, if people are out on Carter Yakimchuk because he likes Burger King, I'm not going to fight you on that.
I respect it.
That's a pretty that's a pretty valid reason.
If we're going based on cheat meals, like give me Zeev Bulliam. Like the content the In-N-Out content we could get.
He honestly, like, man, it's like he was running for president in Orange County or something. Like he was playing to the crowd, even though he probably didn't know that he was. If Zeev Bulliam is drafted by the Ducks, that'll be a really fun story.
That will be an insane story.
Honestly, like, he hasn't been in the rumor mill. Like it's been Seneca and Yakimchuk, who are both righties, by the way. But I would not be surprised if the Ducks drafted Bouillon. Like he checks, those boxes we were talking about for Verbeek. Like he doesn't have the height, but he is a competitive player and he seems really dedicated to improving and he had 50 points in 42 games as a college freshman, like as a defenseman. And yes, it was on the national champion team, but like I could see Verbeek really, really liking all of that. And maybe Verbeek likes In and Out and here's the cheat meal order and is like, yep, that's our guy.
Yeah, I could see Verbeek liking In and Out.
I don't know. I feel like Verbeek just eats like
Monsters,
boiled chicken and broccoli
and drinks a Monster
and like bread.
Also, the fact that you compared him to Sami Vatanen.
I think he reminds me of Sami Vatanen.
You are trying to make me get on the Zeev Bouillon bandwagon.
I think that if you watch him play, and especially some of his shifty plays, there's a little he's better than Sami Vatanen, by the way.
Sami Vatanen plus In and Out, like this is like peak like Anaheim Calling, just our time there in our Slack channel there. Shout out old Daniel Kleinberg. I may text him that.
Wait, what was the joke? I missed
about Sami Vatanen.
Oh yeah, Sami Vatanen was a fun Duck, possibly the most fun Duck.
Very much so,
at least for a defenseman. It's kind of crazy how his career kind of dwindled out.
Yeah,
smaller player, like not the most elite skater. Also, I think he got some injuries.
Yeah,
if I recall.
Ridiculously fun player.
His
one of my favorite players of that era.
His underlying numbers were never that great with the Ducks, though.
Yeah, still.
Which, you still like him despite knowing that?
Yeah, he still was just a fun player that I enjoyed.
Okay. Well, what a journey this has been.
Mm-hmm.
We crossed the Atlantic. We crossed the Pacific. We crossed something, a body of water. I'm on a boating kick lately.
Why?
Because I went on a fishing trip.
Oh.
In the oceanside area, and it was a blast. Now I want to get back on the water. I'm itching. I have the fever to get back.
You want to
get back on the open sea?
Cast out some bait.
Fishing is fun. Fishing is very fun.
You could do some fishing, some farming on Twitter if you wanted to.
I mean, I don't even need to do that anymore. I just have to say anything, and people will like get mad or disagree or freak out or troll or whatever. Like
say you want Demidov to the Habs.
Oh my god, yeah. There are people who are just like, they have legit dedicated themselves to tormenting me on Twitter, and I've just moved on to blocking. Blocking is a great feature.
Protect your peace, bruv.
Thank you, Elon, for not doing away with that feature. Likes are private for some reason, but at least we still have blocks.
Protect your peace.
Yeah. Protect your kingdom. Protect your ship. Protect your voyage.
All right, let's get out of here.
I'm surprised you're still going. Don't you have to be up in like 5 hours?
No, I don't get up that early, typically.
Okay. Well, on that note, thank you for listening, everyone. This has been a pleasure. We have one more before the draft, so it's the finale before the finale.
Also,
if you want to, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say next week's episode, we're probably not gonna be going live on Monday. We might try to wait to see if a jersey reveal comes out at some point during the week.
Okay. Yeah. I would say the podcast scheduling for next week is kind of up in the air because the draft is on Friday. The reveal is on Wednesday, probably. There's just a lot that's going on. So we might just kind of put it off until we actually have stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Mm-hmm. We shall see. But if you want to support the show and you want to get more podcasts that are, maybe we'll do one before next week, who knows? Go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/crashthepond. For $2 a month, you get access to our patrons only Discord server, which is great. It's a great way to avoid the cesspool that is Twitter. Honestly, it's a fun place, respectful. We have a great time. We disagree. We sometimes get mad at each other, but it's all love. It's all love in the family. That's for $2 a month. And then for $7.50 a month, you get access to 2 bonus podcasts on top of that. And I'm putting out draft videos. I've been putting them out game by game, for all the prospects, but I'm going to just put out like quick hitting breakdown videos for each prospect going into next week as much as I can. So if you want some exclusive draft content, that'll help. And also throughout the season, I post Ducks goals prospect video breakdowns there as well. That's at patreon.com/crashthepond. You can also leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. We greatly appreciate that. That goes a long way. Help us secure more sponsors so we can keep this going. Leave us feedback on Spotify. Subscribe to us there. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. And on that note, talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Bye.